Then we have sort of an end-of-the-world story of a very different kind. This is the latest adaptation of a classic end-of-the-world story originally written by legendary science fiction author John Wyndham. I am, of course, speaking of The Day of the Triffids. Now, this is a British miniseries that aired a couple of years ago, and it was just released on DVD and Blu-ray over here a few weeks ago. It's a two-part miniseries. Each part is 90 minutes, so it's a good solid 3-hour movie, basically. So, take a quick look inside. Just another eco pack, no inserts. And there's the back. Now, okay, The Day of the Triffids, for those who are unfamiliar with it, essentially, the thing that makes it interesting as an end-of-the-world story is John Wyndham liked to play with core concepts, I guess you could say. Most end-of-the-world stories feature one thing that causes the extinction or near extinction of the human race and life as we know it. Day of the Triffids, however, has two things. First, there's a mysterious event, lights in the sky, that everyone all over the world sees essentially simultaneously. However, what they don't realize is looking at those lights in the sky causes blindness. So, within the span of a day, the entire world has gone blind, except for a handful of people who, for whatever reason, didn't see the lights. They were drunk and unconscious, or they were injured, or they were in a hospital, or whatever. They missed the lights, so they didn't lose their sight, and as such, they have something of an advantage in this new post-apocalypse world. So, with the entire world being stricken blind, it immediately collapses into chaos and disorder, because this is different from people who live with blindness on a daily basis. This is people who have been sighted their entire life, and they just don't know how to cope. And it's just on such a massive scale that it's impossible for the authorities and whatnot to deal with. They just cannot be dealt with. The world immediately dissolves into chaos, like within a matter of days. But to compound the problem, for many, many years, the people of Earth have been relying on a special oil as a fuel additive. Well, actually, in the original, I think it was a fuel additive, and this one is a fuel replacement. There are a few changes to the story that were done in this version. I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So they were relying on this oil as a fuel additive or replacement, depending which version you're watching. And where this oil comes from is a genetically engineered plant called a Triffid. Now, nobody really seems to know exactly where the Triffids came from. The popular theory seems to be that they were some kind of genetic experiment with plant life. And, well, it turns out that they do have limited intelligence. They can actually lift up their roots and move around and replant themselves elsewhere. So they can move, they have some kind of rudimentary thinking, and they're carnivorous. Yep. So, let's see what we have here. We have a world that has relied on oil cultivated from mobile, sentient, carnivorous plants for decades. I mean, it's become a very firm part of the world. So the Triffids have been kept on Triffid farms, fenced in, gated, guarded, and, because left unchecked, they could just roam free and kill everybody. So now we have a world where 99% of the world's population has been stricken blind. Who's going to keep the Triffids fenced in now? They won't be able to see if they get away. And then if they do get away, they're not going to know if they're coming because they're blind. So, essentially the world has become Triffid food thanks to this cosmic event of whatever happened, striking everyone blind. The beautiful thing about the original story of this is that it doesn't really matter where the Triffids came from or what caused the lights in the sky, because that's not really what the story is about. It isn't about finding out the how and the why of it. It's simply that this is what happened, and this is how we deal with it. So it's basically about a small group of survivors who can see, and how they just try to survive in this completely messed up world that's changed overnight. So it's a story about survival in a post-apocalyptic environment, and it's great stuff. So what about this version? So this is the most recent version, and while being fairly true to the core elements of the story, it does go off in its own direction in quite a few respects. For example, there's more sort of additional antagonist characters in this that were not present in the original story. To be honest, I don't know that those types of characters were really necessary. It seemed like kind of overkill. It's like, well, they've already got all the blind people to deal with. They've already got the killer plants to deal with. What more do they need to be dealing with? But I mean, the flip side of that coin is that it stands to reason there would be people who would try to take advantage of the situation. And some might argue that that was an element that was missing from the original story that is a welcome addition to this version. I'm kind of in two minds about it. On the one hand, I can see the logic of including that type of character in here. On the other hand, the previous versions got along just fine without him, you know? So, whatever. Anyway, if you're a fan of the Day of the Triffids, you might want to check out this new version. If you're not sure if you're going to like it, if you're not going to care for some of the changes, you know, make a rental of it, Netflix it, whatever. But honestly, for me, I have not watched the entire thing yet. I've watched the first of the 2 parts. I've not got around to watching the second part yet. I've been kind of sidetracked watching other things this week. But for me personally, as slick and well-made as this is, I mean, it's very well done. It's got a great cast in it. But honestly, for me, the 1981 adaptation by the BBC will always be the definitive adaptation. Now, yes, this is much lower budget than the new slick 2009 high-def version, but in terms of being truer to the story, it just kicks its ass, you know? And not to mention, the cast is just so perfect in this, and I've really come to associate the characters with these actors. I've watched this so many times. I have an old beat-up tape of a recording I made of this when it was shown on PBS back in 1989. It had been shown prior to that, but I had missed it because I was a little bit too young for it at the time. But it was repeated in 1989 when I was living in Selkirk, and I recorded it. And they showed the whole thing in one night, too. It was originally shown here as 3 one-hour episodes, but in the UK it was originally 6 half-hour episodes. This DVD edition, which came out a few years ago, is the original 6-part half-hour episodes version, which is good, because the 1-hour version apparently cut a few things out here and there. So just to give you a quick look at it, because I realized I've never really given you guys a look at this, and this is one of my all-time favorite BBC miniseries. I just love it. And look at that, we have an insert. So we got a nice cover art there. And this insert actually is pretty nice because it gives you all kinds of information about the making of the miniseries. Hey, check that out. That is very nice. And very dense. You can see there's just a ton of information in there. And then on the back too. So very, very cool. Oh, and this is just the BBC video registration card. So there we go. A couple of end of the world stories that are quite different. I definitely recommend this if you like British sci-fi. I know a lot of people like the 1960s movie version with Howard Keel, but honestly, the 1960s version really, it starts off, like the first 20 minutes or so are fairly faithful to the story, and then it just goes off in its own direction, and just becomes a typical monster movie. It really does not do justice to the beautiful structure of the story of this. This is the only television or movie adaptation that is anywhere close to faithful to the original book. This is the most faithful visual adaptation ever done of Day of the Triffids. I should mention there have also been several radio adaptations over the years. There's one like back in the 50s, I think there was one in the 60s, I think there may have been one in the 80s, maybe even one fairly recently too. I've lost count of how many there have been. There's been a lot. It's a very popular story and it's been adapted many times. And in terms of the television version, low budget as it may be, I still say this is the best version out there, bar none. 1981, BBC, awesome. But check out both of them. I just love the story, so for me it's interesting to see the different interpretations. So a couple of very different end-of-the-world stories. We got Doomsday, about a plague threatening to wipe us all out, and Day of the Triffids, about everybody going blind and being eaten by killer plants. And finally, well, for those of you who missed the package opening video from it when I got the package from Ishimura Crewman 87, I also have 2001: A Space Odyssey, the SteelBook, which is very, very pretty. But I just wanted to throw this into an actual proper Blu-ray update, even though I talked about it quite extensively in that package opening. So if you'd like to see more of me talking about this, check out the package opening. The reason it's in the package opening is because I had already bought this for myself and hadn't got around to putting it in an update, obviously. So Ishimura Crewman knew that I wanted it, but didn't know that I had got it. I had shown it in the Stickam chat room. I thought he was aware of it, but apparently, you know, miscommunication somewhere along the line, and he sent it to me. So anyway, those of you emailing me asking, oh, send it to me, send it to me, I'm sending it back to him because he's never seen it. So I want to, you know, make sure that he experiences the joy and splendor of 2001: A Space Odyssey. He originally bought it, I think, for himself, but then thought that I would like it because he knew I was a big fan of the movie. So thank you again, Ishimura Crewman 87, for sending me that. I know you're going to enjoy it. It's a great movie and a beautiful, beautiful SteelBook edition. Very nice indeed. Very happy to have that. So anyway, if you want to hear some more about that, check out that package opening video. And that is it for today's Blu-ray update. Yeah, I always think they're going to be short. I'm like, oh, I'll just talk about one or two, but then I always have a million things to say about them. Anyway, that's it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara. I completely forgot to tell you how much I paid for them. I always like to tell you how much I get them for. This was $10. Couldn't pass that up. $10, including the slipcover, and it has a useless insert. Why not? This, I believe, was $21. Yeah, the SteelBooks are always more expensive, but that's the price we pay for the coolness. This, I don't actually remember because I bought it about 5 years ago. I think it was about $20. I bought it like literally the day it came out and then have never seen it on the shelf again since. You can definitely find this on Amazon and eBay though. It's available in both Region 1 and Region 2 and should be fairly affordable. I'm sure you can find a deal on it somewhere. I cannot recommend it highly enough. And then this one just came out, so no special discount there, but being Day of the Triffids, I just could not wait for it to go on sale. $19.99, so we'll just say $20. So, yeah. Not really incredible deals this time around, but I think some pretty cool stuff for the collection. So that's definitely it for now. So until next time, thanks for watching again, and sayonara again.